Take you to meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's joining us live now from hard-hit Logan County in Ohio. Mike, what do you know? What can you tell us at this hour about what happened there in western Ohio?
Well, we know a tornado rolled through here last night. The tornado touched down here in Lakeview, right off Indian Lake, at 7:59 p.m. Eastern. They were warned about 15 minutes in advance, so they had a 15-minute warning, and they had about a 4-hour watch. The watch was put out about 4:15 in the afternoon. So the lead time on the watch was about 4 hours, and again, about 15 minutes on the warning. With that said, we still had, unfortunately, a loss of 3 locals. This area is very resort-oriented and themed. It is a big place to come in the summer. There's a huge lake. We came around the backside, and I have never seen as many RVs as I've ever seen in my life. And there's nobody there. It's people that come in, Memorial Day to Labor Day. They enjoy the lake. There's the island. There's restaurants, bars. So as you can imagine, it's a big summer getaway party scene here about an hour west of Columbus. But you can also see the damage widespread as the tornado came in from the west and came right over this area. This is part of a marina that has been destroyed. There's some jet skis. Chris, I don't know if you can see the jet skis over there that look like they're going to be okay. There's a boat, though. Look at that boat. It's flipped over on its back. So the top of the boat's on the ground. The bottom of the boat is sticking up. So you can imagine the force of the wind that came through here last night. And you keep in mind that sundown was just about 15 minutes officially before touchdown. So we still had some daylight. It wasn't a nocturnal tornado per se. It wasn't overnight. But again, people get caught off guard. And this is unfortunately what happens. But as far as the eye can see, we've got debris. And we've been showing you pictures from the ground and above of the RV park that got just ransacked by this tornado. And we're going to try to mosey on down there through the afternoon as we kick off for coverage here in Ohio. So a very stormy night last night. We had, I believe, about a dozen tornado watches, Alex, and one of those included this area here in western and central Ohio, as the cleanup is just getting underway. And I have no doubt that they'll get this cleaned up and they'll be going gangbusters by Memorial Day here in this part of Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, we're going to get back to you. Thanks so much for showing us some of the scenes there in Ohio. All right, I want to bring in Mike Seidel. He is recapping yesterday's severe weather. He is live in hard-hit Logan County, Ohio. Mike, just one of the states that saw a lot of severe weather yesterday, and here, unfortunately, residents are forced to spend the weekend cleaning up.
Yes, and the cleanup continues. The weather isn't bad today. It's chilly, but the rain is out of the way, and no rain expected for the next 3 to 4 days. So plenty of great weather to get things, at least some semblance of order. This is a big resort area. A lot of folks out here in the summer, especially on the weekends. A lot of RVs. I saw literally thousands, hundreds and thousands of RVs around this huge lake here. We're about an hour west of Columbus. And look at this boat that got flipped over. By the way, the boat wasn't there when the tornado hit at 7:59 yesterday. They had a 14-minute lead time on the tornado warning. The watch came out just after 4 p.m. Eastern. So plenty of watch and lead time on the warning, too. And let's bring in one of the locals. This is Corey Grandy. Corey has spent most of his life in the area. You lived here for a long time. And you got in here this morning. And what crossed your mind when you saw all this damage?
Well, a lot. Basically, the way I could put it is a lot of emotions. I spent my entire life almost here, and most of it, the second half, was in this exact building, and no, it just doesn't seem real. I mean, it just doesn't seem real.
It's a tough day for a lot of folks, including you. We want to mention that the boat we showed you was on this trailer, and the trailer didn't move at all.
Yeah, the boat was actually on this trailer prior to the tornado, but the trailer is still in the same spot, and the boat is 100 feet that way.
Gives you an idea of the force of the wind with that tornado.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm curious to see what they name it as.
Yeah, we'll find out shortly. Corey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
That's Corey Grandy here in the path of the destruction. National Weather Service, Wilmington, Ohio, will be surveying the damage. They have been surveying the damage, and we'll get a rating later on. Good afternoon. Welcome back to Lakeview, Ohio, right along the shores of Indian Lake. We're on the west side, and we're about 70 miles, about an hour drive west of Columbus, Ohio. So we're in west central Ohio. Tornado came through last night just after sundown at 7:59. They had a 14-minute warning, and now the Weather Service out of nearby Wilmington, Ohio, those guys and gals were working hard last night. Boy, I mean, all the Weather Service employees from Texas to the Midwest and up into the Ohio Valley, hats off to them, because we had a lot of watches and a lot of warnings and a lot of dangerous weather. Well, here they have rated this tornado preliminarily an EF-2, a high-end EF-2. That puts the winds up there pushing 135 miles an hour. 136 would be a low-end EF-3. And this is just the early stages of their investigation, their survey, and we'll get the final word over the next couple of days. So high-end EF-2, and that doesn't surprise me. This was the Lakeview laundromat, and as you can see on the ground, look at this. There are quarters everywhere. You can just see it's like the machines got blown out, and you can see just quarters all over the ground. Meanwhile, there are the machines, the dryers, and what's left of the building. And the tornado just blew this down to the ground yesterday just after sundown. Fortunately, nobody was in the laundromat. We did have 3 fatalities, though, in this area, and we assume they were residents. This is a very resort-oriented area around the lake. Just hundreds, if not thousands, of RVs around this lake, and it's a big, big lake. And most of those RVs we went by, there's nobody there, because it's, it's March. It's not the season. So most of the people here in Lakeview are year-round residents, and we would assume, but we don't know, that unfortunately, those fatalities were folks that would be considered locals and not someone that was out here doing any fishing because of the time of the year. We're going to find out more as we get the information. So, Alex, just another scene of devastation as we head not really right now just into the beginning of which is the peak of the hurricane, I should say, tornado and severe weather season, March, April, and May. So we're early in the season, although these days it seems like we have tornadoes every month of the year.
Right, and a lot of people are saying, all right, well, with a day like today, what does the rest of the season hold, right? Knowing that things typically ramp up then during April and continuing into May. Mike Seidel, thanks so much. We're going to get back to Mike Seidel.
We want to take you to Ohio right now and take you to Logan County, where meteorologist Mike Seidel is. Mike, National Weather Service has been on hand. Their preliminary rating EF-2. What does an EF-2 look like, if you could show our viewers?
I'll show you this in high-end EF-2 when the winds are pushing 135. That's the cutoff. 136 is the low-end EF-3. The damage isn't much different, obviously, 1 mile per hour, but that's how they rate it. That's preliminary. They could upgrade it and make it a low-end EF-3 before they put out the final assessment. Tornado came through here, through these fields. That is a garage, actually a couple of garages that emerged together. In fact, the owner said it's more like a 4-car garage now. We think that car is fine, but they've got to get the debris off it. And there's an older gentleman that was in this house. He was upstairs here. And he heard the warning and saw the storm and went downstairs as quick as he could, down through the stairwell, and got under the stairwell to protect himself, and I just saw him, and I don't see any scratches, so he's a very lucky gentleman. It's really hard to find many people that were home at the time. We talked to a couple of ladies who were out at the high school, but that's several miles down the road, and they were not affected by the direct impact. But debris up and down the street here, the main street, and you can see power poles still standing, kind of leaning, but the power lines are not back up. They're working on these out on US 33 on the edge of town, so they'll get these power poles back up and the power back on, but many of these homes are not livable and will have to be torn down, much like this one right here across the street next to the laundromat we showed you before. That is a total loss over there. And again, just amazing how you get through this, and as far as we know, the 3 fatalities were at the RV park and not here, right here in town where you have homes and businesses. Let's go, Chris, let's spin around and go down around the corner here and show the piled debris that they're cleaning up. You can see the trees here, the limbs. Watch the power lines. Just assume they're live, even though we know the power is out in a large area. So they're back here clearing out this tree and taking care of this tree that got uprooted, this evergreen uprooted by the tornado. and just clipped the front edge of the house, but notice how many people have turned out. This is what we see time and time again. Everybody just shows up, brings their chainsaws and their elbow grease, and helps to clean up the situation. So this one lifted up the sidewalk, and again, the garage back there merged, Alex, with the other garage. So just a real mess here in Lakeview on Indian Lake. Again, a huge, very popular area in the summertime. It's like a big just party. Families, friends, you know, Saturday night barbecues, Alex, and hopefully they'll get things back in order before Memorial Day weekend gets here in just a couple of months. But the cleanup continues from at least a high-end EF-2 tornado here, about an hour west of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, you mentioned summer, such an important season for these folks. So I know they're going to be urgently doing that cleanup. Mike, thanks so much. Mike Seidel, our meteorologist, is live in hard-hit Logan County, Ohio. Mike, I was just talking to Dr. Nab. He said it looks to him like high-end EF-2 damage, which is what the National Weather Service says thus far. We've seen some walls taken down, but a ton of roof damage.
Yes, and you know, some of the locals asked me about an hour ago, and that's what I said. And I usually come in a little bit more conservative, but that's what they're going with now. And again, that's preliminary. I just want to show you what happened yesterday. 7:59, so about 15 minutes after sundown, still some dusk in the area, twilight now that we're on daylight time. There was a garage structure there. There was one where I'm standing. This is a two-car garage, and we talked to the sisters who live with their brother here in their house, which all these houses you can see are going to have to be leveled. And those two garages merged with the one up here, and they jokingly said we now have a six-car garage. So a little lightheartedness after what was a deadly day here in Lakeview. 3 fatalities. As far as we know, they were all down the street in the RV park. This is a big resort community, this whole lake, this huge lake about an hour west of Columbus. And we came around the whole side, the north side and to the west side. We're on the southwest side here. And I have never seen so many RVs in my life, all parked and ready to go for summertime. Most of these places are empty, except people live here all year long. The weather has turned nice now. It was cloudy and misty earlier and chilly. Now temperatures in the mid-50s as the tornado started over there and came across here. And you can see in the distance over there, Chris, over by the church steeple to the left, those houses undamaged. So to me, it looks like it touched down and came roaring through here again with those winds. At least high-end EF-2, that would put the winds as high as 135 miles an hour here in west central Ohio. Good afternoon from Lakeview, Ohio. We're an hour west of Columbus. This is where one of the 8 reported tornadoes in the U.S. yesterday and last night touched down. Not a swarm of tornadoes, but as they say, it only takes one. And this one has killed at least 3 here in Lakeview. We're right on Indian Lake. A couple of other areas, Orchard Island and Russell's Point, also hit by the twister. Came right across here. Touchdown initially at 7:59 Eastern. The tornado warning went out 14 minutes early, and the tornado watch was out around 4:15. So there was plenty of lead time. Look at this big hardwood. I think this is an oak tree, and you get the sense of how strong the wind was. We talked about the 2 garages over there. They all merged into this big pile of debris. We've got another outbuilding over here. You can see a refrigerator, 2 refrigerators, and just debris as far as the eye can see. And then we scan over in the distance. Chris, I don't know if you can zoom in over there. There's 4 or 5 houses. 2 of them look like they're just total losses. The others, one has lost its roof. The other's lost part of its roof. So just a lot of damage in this area in west central Ohio. And as I mentioned, a high-end EF-2 on the enhanced Fujita scale. Winds go up as high as 135. That's the break-even, the break point for an EF-3. And they could raise it higher. This is the preliminary rating from the National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio. So, Alex, turning out to be a much better day for the cleanup. A lot of cleanup to do. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a huge resort area in the spring and summer when it gets warm. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of RVs surrounding this big lake west of Columbus. And I know folks are wondering how things are going to be here in the town, and we'll see how things turn out. Most of the restaurants and bars are over towards the Orchard Point area, Orchard Island area, and they also had some damage too. So we've got a couple months plus before Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see how everything turns out. But again, a big day of cleanup, and that will continue for weeks to come here in Lakeview.
Absolutely. Mike Seidel, thank you so much for that report. Mike Seidel, our meteorologist, is live in hard-hit Logan County, Ohio, where, of course, you've been surveying some of the damage, talking to residents. It seems pretty widespread, Mike. How far would you say that this significant damage extends?
Well, it certainly goes from Lakeview, and then it goes over Russell's Point, and then Orchard Island. Those are two areas on the lake, and the lake is blocked by the debris here, but we're maybe a quarter mile from the lake. It's a big, big lake here west of Columbus, and thousands come out here. I can just imagine what it's like here on a weekend in the summer when you've got all these people in their motorhomes, they're cooking out, their RVs, and just out on the lake in their boats, water skiing, and just having a great time. This is the back of the laundromat. We always tell you to go to the lowest room of the building you're in. If you don't have a basement, get it under something sturdy, or go to your bathroom and get in the tub. Well, that's the bathroom right there. What we think is the bathroom of the laundromat. Yeah, it is. It says restrooms on the door, and so if you were in there, theoretically, you probably would have been okay. But the rest of the building is a total loss. So on the other side, we show you the washers and dryers, quarters spewed all over the asphalt. Back here, more debris. The tornado came in this direction. It touched down at 7:59, just after sundown. So we had some dusk, some twilight, and the warning came out 14 minutes before, but the watch came out around 4:15. So there was a lot of lead time on the watch, and everything just was blown into a big pile. This is a warehouse building here. It's gone. The steel's on the other side. This is an old marina building. There's some jet skis over there. By the way, see that boat over there? Chris Erickson's going to go in on the boat. And this is where it was before the twister hit, right here on this portable boat ramp, I want to call it. And it was sitting here, it got blown over there, flipped over. We got another boat somewhere. Well, here's one right here. Now that kind of reminds me of the boat, remember the SS Minnow in Gilligan's Island, where it was on its right side, but it was, you know, it was not usable. This is the same kind of idea with this boat. I don't know where it was. It certainly didn't float here. Oh, it was right over here. Thanks, Chris. It was right over here, and then it moved over here. So it got picked up and dropped. Look, it's got a little air conditioner in there. Maybe they'll be able to salvage this boat. We're not sure, but just a lot of debris everywhere you look. And again, it went across here and then over towards Russell's Point and Orchard Island. A lot of loss here, including 3 lives at the RV park. And that was certainly the most unfortunate thing about the entire evening here, is because everything can be replaced, but not your life. And they did more search and rescue today, and as far as we know, they did not find any other fatalities. So hopefully 3 is it here in Lakeview. Alex, you know, you see this over and over again. You never get used to it. You just never get used to the power of the wind and how in literally 45 to 50 seconds someone can lose everything that they've had all their lives. We talked to a gentleman earlier. He's lived here all of his life, and, you know, all this that he's been around for 40, 45 years is gone.
Yeah. It's so tough. And again, every storm is different. Every time you're there, there's something that's surprising or heartbreaking. Mike, thanks so much for bringing us their stories. We're going to get back to Mike Seidel in just a bit. But we've just learned the tornado that tore through central Ohio rated an EF-3, meaning winds of at least 136 miles an hour. I want to also bring in Mike Seidel. He is live in Lakeview in Logan County with more on these storms and all the damage now that folks are dealing with.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, because earlier we showed you masonry walls blown down, the brick wall at the laundromat blown down, and that usually indicates at least a low-end EF-3. So they've got EF-3 damage. We don't know if it's low-end or mid or high-end, but as Alex mentioned, the cutoff is 136, and I believe that goes up to 155 if I'm not sure, but correct me if I'm wrong, but in that general window. Again, damage everywhere. This was a warehouse building, you know, a big steel structure. Where is it? It's all been blown on the other side of these containers. So that's where it all ended up, as the tornado came from basically where the sun is setting, this time of the year almost due west, and came right across here. Then there's the other areas, Orchard Island and Russell's area, the Russell's Point area. They both got hit, and they looked at that area too, the Weather Service out of Wilmington, Ohio. The boat, we've been talking about this boat on its belly, basically, on the top end. It flipped flipped over, it was over here on this boat trailer. So it got picked up and blown all the way over there during the tornado. You know, remember, these things come and go in less than a minute. In less than a minute, this destruction is done and over with. It hit at 7:59, so there was some twilight left, about 15 minutes after sundown, and officially 14 minutes after the tornado warning was issued. The tornado watch went out at 4:15. So there was plenty of lead time on the watch, but again, there's just a lot of folks that wait for the warning and wait for the storm to come, and when they're moving at 60 miles an hour, it's almost impossible to get out of the way of that kind of danger. Good afternoon once again. This is Lakeview, Ohio, about an hour west of Columbus, and this was the laundromat until about 8 o'clock last night. The tornado hit at 7:59 right after sundown, and they had a 14-minute lead time on the tornado warning from the Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio. Speaking of them, they were out here and they've reassessed all the damage, and I'm not surprised that they upgraded the EF number, the enhanced Fujita number damage scale. It was at a high-end EF-2. Now they've rated it at least a low-end EF-3. That puts the winds at 136 miles an hour or stronger, and not surprised because we have masonry and brick walls blown down by the force of the wind. And when I see that, that usually means, when we see that, that usually means that you have at least a low-end EF-3. You can see a lot of the machines may be able to be reclaimed and used. They don't look too damaged. It's amazing sometimes how the tornado will take the roof off and blow everything around, but leave a lot of the equipment and stuff inside in pretty good shape. One thing I noticed too is about the only room that's left, and we often talk about going to the lowest level of the floor you're in, maybe interior wall or a bathroom, and back there's the bathroom, and basically that is the only room that survived the twister. So if you had been in there, you probably would have survived. And the other thing we noticed earlier, that the wind picked up the quarters, and they've been blown everywhere. So we've got quarters from the laundromat all over the place. Just a lot of damage here. Alex, in Lakeview, we're about an hour west of Columbus. And again, it hits quick. It's gone in less than a minute, and lives are no longer the way they were. Some people lost everything they had. Some are not insured. And unfortunately, the worst part of the situation was 3 locals lost their lives at the nearby RV park.
Mike Seidel, thank you so much. I know you're going to continue to follow the story there with reports into the weekend as well. You are right. You know, less than a minute and people's lives forever changed. A lot of work to be done in that community.
Meteorologist Mike Seidel is live there in Logan County with a closer look at some of the damage and what you're hearing. Mike?
And Chris, EF-3 rating coming in about an hour ago. They upgraded it from a high-end EF-2. So that means the wind's estimated at 136 miles an hour or higher. Once they get the final report out, we'll find out exactly what they think the wind speed was. But I can tell you, here at the laundromat, I'm not surprised. We showed this earlier. Masonry wall has been blown down in the front. Masonry and brick wall has been blown down. So that gives you an idea. When you see this kind of destruction, usually if you look at the Fujita scale and all the more than 24 categories of damage, you're going to get a low-end EF-3 when you see this kind of damage. Meanwhile, as far as the eye can see, debris piled everywhere. This garage has just been twisted on top of the truck. The Jeep looks like it's drivable. And then, Chris, come over this way and look in the distance, and you can see house after house. And the one in the distance, as locals and owners are picking through what they can save. But beyond those folks there, you can see another house. It's just a pile of rubble. It was a very, very busy evening last night. The National Weather Service, the Storm Prediction Center, first off, did a heck of a job. They issued more than a dozen tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches through the afternoon and evening. And then you have to give hats off to the local Weather Service offices, like the one in nearby Wilmington that surveyed this damage and issued the tornado warning for here in Lakeview at 7:45. The twister touched down here at 7:49, but the tornado watch was out about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, Alex, plenty of lead time on the watch, about 15 minutes on the warning. You can't do much better than that, and still, unfortunately, we lost 3 people, 3 here in Lakeview. So, again, when you know there's a tornado watch and you live in a mobile home or a manufactured home, you got to get to a safe place and don't don't wait till you see the sky get dark, because as you know, these storms can move as much as 50 or 60 miles an hour, and there's no way you can outrun them.
All right, meteorologist Mike Seidel.
Welcome back to Lakeview, Ohio, about an hour west of Columbus. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. The sun has come out this afternoon, making it a bit more bearable following yesterday's disaster and tragedy. 3 lives lost here in Lake City. And as we pan the area, all we see is destruction. This is a big building, big, strong steel building, girders, and it's gone. It's been blown across the way, not into the lake, not that far. The lake isn't that far away, but the piles of debris on the other side is just incredible. And look at this big steel structure. We always tell you to avoid freestanding, wide-span buildings like this one. Now, most of the roof, at least this side, is gone. The beams, the structure itself are still there, the support beams. But look inside. You know how often we tell you to get into an interior room on the lowest level of the building you're in, if you have to, if you can't get to a basement or a storm shelter? Well, look at this. This is the lowest level, the first floor, and look what's standing intact. It's the closet. So if you've been in that closet during the tornado, the EF-3, 22 hours ago, you would have been okay. So just another example of how tornadoes can take off roofs and leave parts of buildings and interior rooms in good shape. Chris Warren, Jackie Jarris, another example of what you have to do if you're in that situation where you can't get to a safe place in enough time. However, last night the warning was out 14 minutes before the twister touched down here at 7:59. Oh my God. Thank God it ain't in my house. It's out the door. Stay over there. Stay over there.
Just terrifying video here. That's the tornado that struck Freiburg, Ohio. It's 1 county away from where Mike Seidel is located. It's very likely from the same parent cell that produced more than 1 tornado that may have touched down and tracked all the way across that region of northwestern Ohio.
Meteorologist Mike Seidel joins us now live in Logan County with the latest. Hello to you, Mike.
Hey, Chris, Sierra here in EF-3, winds at least 136 miles an hour, and this is what may have prompted, I don't know, the Weather Service. I didn't see the survey crew today, but when you have a brick wall and a mason block wall blown tornado, that really signifies at least a low-end EF-3, 136 or higher. We'll see what they end up estimating that wind speed, but you can see what it did to the laundromat. It's basically gone, but again, tell you what happens. The washing machines, a lot of the dryers are probably salvageable, but the building is toast. In fact, the only room standing is the bathroom on the backside. Once again, showing you that sometimes that interior room, and many times, it's the best place to go if you have nowhere else to hide from a twister. They had a 14-minute warning. The tornado watch went out around 4:15, so they had a long lead time on the watch. But unfortunately, in the nearby RV park, we lost 3 locals to the twister. Also had the EF-3 over in Indiana in Winchester. That's just off to the east of Muncie. But look at this. As far as the eye can see, it's just one big mound of debris. This is more of a commercial area. But look at the home over here. We just talked to the gentleman, Ron, over here, and he was able to survive by getting into the back room with his chihuahua, and he's okay, no scrape, and we're thankful for that. And when you go across the street and look, I don't know if Chris, can you get over there? I know the sun is hitting the lens, but you can see the debris over there across the street as far as the eye can see in the distance. The tornado came from that direction. Most tornadoes from the southwest northeast. So the sun this time of the year sets almost directly west. So it came in from that direction, came right across, and then hit Russell's Point and Orchard Lake. Those are 2 other areas. If you're familiar with this area, Lake, this is a very busy area in the summertime. A lot of recreation, a lot of boating, a lot of RVs, and hopefully they'll get this cleaned up. A lot of this will be cleaned up, and they'll be back in business, Chris, for Memorial Day. But tonight, things continue. The cleanup continues in good weather for the weekend. although tomorrow morning we'll start down around freezing, we'll end up in the 50s and 60s for the weekend. So good cleanup weather will continue here in Lakeview, Ohio.